Hey, everyone.
Go ahead and get started with the next session. So, if you don't mind, please grab the left of the screens and get started here.
How are you doing? Good. Good.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our afternoon sessions. Hope you guys had a good lunch and you're awake. I know this morning was probably quite a fire hose for some of you to get information in. So this presentation today can be rather light. We're going to start off light and we're going to end a little bit on the heavier side just to make sure we touch everybody in the room. Just by way of introduction, my name's Tim Rolling. I'm with the HawkSearch team. I've been in the industry for 15, 20 years, see a lot about business. I'm a strategist here. What I do is help align customer needs with the right production team and a specialist like Tom.
Hi, my name is Tom, and I've been in the SEO, SEM world for about 8 years now, and help a lot of our clients manage these, different HawkSearch platforms. So happy to be here today.
Okay, so just to get started here, we're going to want to go through a couple things, but before we jump in too fast, by just show of hands, how many, we're going to go low, medium, high. When we're talking about SEO, how many have a low understanding, just moderate? I'm just getting started with SEO right there, okay? A medium, moderate, we got people in the room that are moderate, right? And how about advanced? Oh, good, we got some experts here, good, all right. Well, we'll have a quiz for you guys later, all right? So get ready. It's pass-fail, so no pressure. What we'll talk about today is really, does HawkSearch matter in SEO? And absolutely it does. I mean, everybody wants more traffic to your website. You got to try to figure out how to get it there. And that's what we're going to talk about today, some of the best practices and the fundamentals to do that. And then we'll talk about search and product listings. How does that actually work when you're putting a product up there, or if it's just text? How do you index your pages properly? And when we hear search, just so in our world, I work a lot with Google. That's pretty much 90% of my week, and he's 100% of his week working with Google. We hear search as outbound searches. How do you get from a search term to your website? Unlike HawkSearch, where it's more like on-site search. So let's just understand the two separations of that. We're not really talking about on-site search today. We're talking about off-site search that comes from Google, Bing, or Yahoo, any of the search engines that are out there. Okay? And then we'll talk about how does HawkSearch actually manage SEO and what it comes down to, and then get into some advanced SEO at the end. Won't go too hard there, so we'll kind of just ramp ourselves up there so you understand what that is. When we get to those points, if there's questions, certainly ask them. If we can't get them during this session, we'll talk to you afterwards and get into the specifics. So does it matter? Yes, it does. Let's start with some basics, just the definitions of our terminology so we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so the basics, the SEO, the search engine optimization, that's more of your organic listings in Google. So it's not the paid ads. The paid ads are separate. We'll get into that in a second. But the SEO is the organic listings in essentially Google, Bing, Yahoo, etc. And then we get into the pay-per-click, which is the paid search, which is using a platform such as Google AdWords or Bing Ads. And those are paid ads. And then we get into search engine marketing, which is the overall term for SEO and PPC actions and activities.
So common grounds amongst all this is really keywords. I mean, that's really what's important. We all heard those terms. That's what triggers these searches and how you get your pages to be indexed. But it starts with really the best practices of the structure. We know what the domain is going to be, maybe your area of .com, .org, whatever that's going to be. But the next two categories, 5 and 6, are very important. And Tom's going to explain why that's important, because this is where the search starts, up top at the URL.
Yeah, so with HawkSearch, a lot of the focus is on these two, the subfolder, the path, and the page. So there's a lot of tools you can use within HawkSearch to actually focus on those subfolder paths and pages, and we'll get into that here in our presentation here.
So we look at best practice. Let's start here and make sure we're understanding that. Sometimes it's easier to bypass these steps. It takes longer to go through here, but it's going to create a lot more work for you later if you don't. So it's important you follow in sequence. When we look at a Google page, just so everybody's on the same starting point where we go up, there's a lot that's happening here. Right at the top, what do we have here?
At the top here, we have the paid search ads, which I just mentioned, the PPC ads. These are done through Google AdWords. And up here in the top right, we have Google Shopping ads. This is done through the Google Shopping platform, also through AdWords, the Merchant Center, etc.
These are paid per click. So if we know what pay per click is, that means every time someone hits your keyword, you're paying for it. You can put up a bunch of keywords and be displayed and have your name displayed up here all day long. If no one clicks on there, that doesn't cost you a dime. So there's a lot of ways you can get visibility and use that to your advantage just to keep yourself prominent and relevant within the searches. And funny enough is people don't always click those up there. They're going to click some of the ones that are down below just because of nature and habit. But as we've seen the trend, more so, especially for people that want to get instant search. They want to get up there, and I can't wait for 3-4 months for organic SEO to take place. This is where your paid search comes into play. And then the Google Shopping is something that used to be called Google Merchant Center, just so we're all clear about that. These are very good clicks because you got a picture with that. It's similar to the search ads. You're paying by the click and by the ad, and it's all an auction. These clicks over here go for a lot less than what the typical ads go up on top. Very good to know if you're trying to put a strategy together for marketing.
Absolutely.
So where do the most clicks happen?
Most of the clicks happen here in the organic listings. So these are the non-paid ads. Non-paid ads right here. This is the organic. This is the SEO strategies to try to get you to the number one position here underneath the ads. And then also over here we have the knowledge graph, which is also part of the organic SEO strategy.
And that can all be pulled from content or text from your pages. So all this is going to relate from those steps as we go through. So let's talk about landing pages, how we kind of get in and naming these pages, because that's where the details start. Custom URLs, meta descriptions, these are all parts of things that we want to talk about that are best practice. And we're going to go through some of these in detail. Some of them we're just going to touch on. But it's important that you kind of follow the sequence of where we're going. And this all happens through the impact tool in the administration dashboard. If you guys, how many people have used that? Everybody. Oh, great. Okay. All right. Good.
You're shaking your head no. Absolutely not.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do is walk through here. That's the point of today is to talk about the tools. And we understand if you don't get all this today, by all means, if you want to have a further discussion about it, we'll talk about it offline. But starting there, it's really right here. Start with the impacts section. That's going to be at the bottom of your menus here. Many of you have been there before or haven't. This is where you're going to want to start paying attention to as you want to advance your Hawk search capabilities. But it really starts with the landing pages. That's really where you have to go. So navigate to your landing pages, do the work center, and you're going to start putting those pages together. When we first get to a page, you're going to see a template similar like this. And normally what you see here is like the page ID 856. That's what it's going to do. It's going to give you a number. And what's the biggest problem with this, Tom? We see this all the time.
Yeah, so the biggest problem with this is there's really no relevancy to the search engines of this 8675309 number or ID or whatever it is. It's not telling us anything.
Oh, good one, yeah.
Yeah. So the next step with this would be to create a custom URL such as this. So this is a much cleaner URL, and this tells the search engines exactly what is on the page and is part of this, is going to be indexed after brands Columbia. So this can be, where all of the Columbia products are listed as opposed to the just random number generated.
Keywords is most important here. Think of the keywords that you want to be. It's jackets, it's sportswear, it's apparel, things like that. Very common words. You've heard URL-friendly terms, SEO-friendly terms. This is what we're talking about, making sure that you're using keyword-rich content. Essentially, you're going to send up with a blank like this when you get there. You have to fill this stuff in. Have we heard of H1s? Everybody know what an H1 is? We don't know? It's the first header on the page is all that is. It's a tag. You'd be surprised how many times people don't have that on their website, and then they're not getting found by their main category, right? Because that's the category we're talking about, or the brand. Could be either or. And that's an important place to start. And then you've got your title tag. That's what happens at the top of the page. And Google uses these reference points for signals and how we can find a page and index that page and then also serve it up in the results. So if you don't follow these and you leave them empty, that's essentially an error. So you got to make sure that you fill these blanks in. And then you want to do it with optimization in mind, that you use the right keywords and you pull that together. And how do we find keywords?
Yeah, so this is an example of where to find the top 250 searched keywords that are actually on Hawk Search. So these are done not through Google, but actually through Hawk Search. And this can actually, it's a 250 search keyword report that's actually in all the Hawk Search profiles. And this will then generate a list that you can create into custom URLs or popular search terms and take it from there.
So you want to tie relevancy in with what people are doing on your site, right? And making sure that Google knows about that when you're putting in those search terms.
Right.
Other ways for keywords?
Yeah, other ways for keywords. There's the Google Keyword Planner is a really great tool to get an idea of what keywords that are out there that people are actually looking for in terms of your products and services that is not just relying on your Hawk Search data. So this is a great example of just a search. This will tell you the monthly trends, the competition here, the competition level, how many average monthly searches is done across the country. And then you can pull keyword ideas from here and start gathering keyword groups to create custom URLs and pages.
Yeah, so want to make sure that if you have 10,000 pages and all these different products, start with the ones that are most commonly searched. That's where the volume is going to be. If marketing is your biggest goal here, you've got to look and see what the industry is searching for. You may have your own mind what people are searching for. This is that cross-reference point. Let's see what people are actually looking for and what types of terms. That'll help you build those pages out effectively. And it's just really, putting in your keywords for the search. So let's get into landing pages and products. Does anybody have any questions on AdWords and finding keywords? Pretty simple, right? Okay. Let's take it up to the next level. Then you're going to get into the details of the landing pages and how these are built. Now, they can be a product. They can be a custom page, a sale page, as we know. A lot of different ways in how you can make a landing page. Very important that you kind of categorize it properly, though, and how you're going to index these in the system. So within here, you're going to start looking at products. How are we going to place a product on a page? You go into your page landings here, and you're going to drop a page, and you're going to start putting together, your keywords and your product names. That keyword we looked at before, the H1 and the title, this is what's going to show up here. And Tom, what's most so important about this page here when you're looking at them?
So yeah, what's important here is that it's actually selecting the outdoor chairs as plastic, and then we have the page name is outdoor chairs plastic.
So you got category and keywords in there, right?
Exactly, Yep.
Okay, so important features when you're putting these pages together. Not to jump too far ahead, but just we can get the basics of a keyword and a title. Your keyword planning is going to be very important in your information architecture. That's what IA is. So if you're just building a new section or if you're trying to modify old sections, you want to have this stuff planned out ahead of time. Because if you don't, and say you name your page something that you don't like it or it doesn't work, you have to redirect that one. You ever heard of a 301 redirect? You can't just take a page, name it, and then call another one and leave that one hanging there. And if you do that a bunch of times, it's going to create problems. And then it's going to end up lowering your trust score ultimately from the domain authority. So you have to make sure you clean that stuff up. And the best thing is to do when you're making new pages is think it out first. Draw it out on paper. Then when you have it put together, it's much easier to put this stuff together when you're making those sitemaps. We've all heard of the sitemaps and how those work. We're going to talk about this too. So we made a new page, right? You update it. How does Index know that? Or how does Google know that we've indexed those pages? HawkSearch indexed it, but we want to make sure that Google does too. All right, so we're going to talk about the updates here, talk about what we have on this page.
Sure. So this is the example of where to find the sitemap in your SEO tools. So you can schedule it weekly. So in this case, it's a Tuesday at 9:55 a.m. Every week it'll update in the sitemap. And then the sitemap can be found in whatever the site is /sitemap.xml. And we'll show the next.
And say I updated my page today. And I'm not waiting until next Tuesday. It's Thursday, right? I don't want to wait till Tuesday. This is where you can generate that sitemap right now and say, hey, we got a special going on tomorrow. We can't wait till next Tuesday for this to catch in. We want to make sure we're putting that up there. So that's what the Generate Now button is going to do. But you have to connect that, right? Have you heard of Google Search Console? How many in the room have heard of Google Search Console? Okay, good.
Great.
Very important factor. You got to make sure those two things are connected. If you need help, we can certainly get you, guided in there. Very important to do that, though. But then once you've kind of made that sitemap, right, you've got the one that's indexed on the HawkSearch platform, you've got to tell Google about that same sitemap that you're updating over there. So that's what this screen is showing.
So this is the old version of Google Search Console, and this is actually where you go ahead and submit the sitemap is up here. So first you want to test it and then submit it. In this case, we're just using AmericanEagle.com. And this is the new version of Google Search Console. If you haven't seen this yet, they're rolling it out across all versions of your Search Console, so you should have an updated version here shortly if you don't already. But this is where you would go on the new version to submit your sitemap is over here on the left, and then you would test and submit in the new version here.
Do you need to update the sitemap every time once you've done this and you've connected it with Search Console, Tom?
No. So once you connect it to Search Console, it will generate and it will crawl occasionally according to your crawl budget, but then we'll pull in this sitemap.xml. And then if you wanted to generate it and push it through HawkSearch, that's when you can also then submit it and say to Google, we have a new sitemap, please, maybe scan it now. So.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot of times, like you see these pages here, how many were submitted, how many are indexed. Index is in orange or red or whatever your color is going to be here, and this is in blue and submitted. So you'll find that common, that you'll submit more pages than are actually crawled. And that's what Tom's talking about, the crawl budget, of how much it's going to do. If you don't have like we've talked about facets, you tired of hearing that word? We've heard that word a lot in here, but this is really important because if you don't set those up right, your search engine crawlers will get stuck in there. And that's why we talk about having a good sitemap and good clean URLs so they know what they're looking for. Can't stress that enough. You don't want to go 5-6 layers deep either into your categories. Remember the first page we showed up, right after the domain, you're going to have your category, and then you're going to put your pages right after that. That's the best way for Google to look at things. If you put it, category, brand, color, this, that, the other, and then your keywords, wait, that's 5-6 down there, it's a good chance it might not get there. So you can end up submitting a lot, but not actually having them indexed. And this is the core. This is how Google's going to see what you have to look at when they're going to go look for relevant search. Any questions on this? Okay, yeah, over here.
This sitemap that you generate is based on every hawk search URL that you have in your index?
The one you generate from the platform?
Sorry, what?
Are we talking about the ones generated from the platform? Yes, that's correct.
So, but what if we had a separate sitemap of our own? We'd have to merge those two together.
That's a technical question for those gentlemen right there.
Chris, go right ahead.
Yeah, that is correct. There's an API call that you can make to grab the GZIP file directly, so you can take that, merge it together, and put it on the website. But you would have to merge it into your own site.
So theoretically, we're not really getting full impact from our Google URL. I'm sorry, from our hawk search URLs in Google because we're not
Trace, do you
providing
wanna-
sitemaps for it. Correct.
I'm not sure if that's on or not.
Yeah, so I think the solution there is that you have to bring them together through an API. Is that right, Shreyas? You're trying to turn the volume up there.
Sorry, I don't have, yeah.
It is a two-part system. It's not, if you're going to have your own sitemap on another one, you're going to have to find a way to merge this because you can't have two sitemaps submitted to Google because they're going to have to only pick one. And some people try that. Well, they have two different sitemaps going on. They have a
Yeah,
conflict is what happens.
we've seen that as an issue a few times, and it is a little bit of a challenge to try to get Google to recognize, say, hundreds of thousands of URLs if they're on multiple sitemaps. So it's really best just to have it all tied into the one API as Shreyas was referencing.
Yeah, you don't want to submit multiple. Just take whatever we send back, add it to your own sitemap. It's in the exact same format that you send to Google for your regular sitemap. So it's everything already. You just have to get those URLs and put those in there.
Thank you.
Any other questions on sitemaps? And if they come up after you're working in it, you kind of find yourself in there, at that time, that's usually when the questions come up. Talk to your account manager, and they'll get in touch with the right people here to help you out. Yeah?
We actually have like 53 sitemaps with a master one. And so if we're generating a new hawk sitemap, and that's part of the master list, then are we submitting then the main one over again to be recrawled for those?
No, I think it should work with just that. Along with those 53, if you send the hawk sitemap separately, it should work.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Was there another question over here? In the back? Yeah.
The question is there a feature to exclude certain pages on the sitemap? And yes, that is a part of the Hawk search, and you want to talk about
Yep.
that a little
There's
more?
also a way to add a canonical from the Hawk page itself. So if you go to the landing page, you can also canonicalize it to go back to the original page. And there is a way to do exclusions from the SEO impact tool. You can also do exclusions on specific facet combinations. So I don't know if you guys.
No, go right ahead.
Okay. So you already have like a lot of these facets that you can crawl, but then if you want to exclude certain combinations, you can do that through the SEO impact tool as well. So along with landing pages, you can specifically say, I want gender and type to be a combination, but I don't want gender and brand to be a combination.
We're going to talk about canonical tags at the end.
No,
yeah.
that-
And we'll see
no,
you
I
can spell it.
appreciate
That's
it.
the biggest thing. Yeah, go ahead.
To add to hers, can you exclude, so for example, we already have a sitemap with our product URLs, we know what they are, we give them to you. Instead of offloading the entire sitemap to you, could we just get the pages we're creating? So can we just get the landing pages, for example?
That's exactly what the Hawk sitemap sends. It doesn't include your product detail pages
Oh,
or
so it doesn't include.
no, it only includes the Hawk landing pages.
Yeah, and then you
Landing pages and the combination of search pages, search results pages.
Right, so any custom landing pages that you create, any popular search terms that you want to index, that's where the Hawk sitemap comes in. But it's not going to have your product detail pages, it's not going to have your home page or anything like that. Anything that you're driving through Hawk or any specific landing pages that you want with facet combinations, that's what this is going to drive.
Is there another question there, sir?
I think he may have answered it. So that would the sitemap include the SEO impact URLs generated by Hawk Search?
Yeah, so the only part that the Hawk sitemap will give you is everything that's in the landing pages. So it's the GZIP, if you open that, is going to be those custom. So for example, you have the scooter landing pages with the brand selected. You would have those pages, and then if you decide to add another facet to follow, you would have that included, that combination included.
All good questions. Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff that you need to talk about, though. If there's questions, bring it up because it can really hurt your search if you're not handling it properly. Okay, so advanced SEO. This is kind of where you've gone through some of the basics. And again, we can't cover everything today because there's so much to talk about. But we're going to talk on some of the more important features here for the advanced side. And really what you're looking at here is the impact section. And we talked a little bit about the canonical URLs there. We're going to give you an example of what that looks like. And then no follows. Do we know what a no follow is? Everybody heard that term in here? Okay, H1 tags, we talked about that. Very important to include those if they're not there. And then how you're going to use those brand pages. And banner ads can be set up for triggers. You know, if you want to increase conversions, you've talked about that a little earlier, we can set up keyword banner ads that show up if you're on a particular page to get more enticement there and engagement. So what we're going to do is to talk about a few of the things here, and we'll get into canonical URLs. So great topic to start with because we just picked up off of there. But when you put something like this in here, I mean, this is really what it's for. Tom, go ahead and explain what the
So with the canonicals, your biggest reason why you would use this is to avoid the duplicate products and the duplicate pages, actually. And then if there's, say, like multiple URLs, and you want them to go back to the main canonical and have the search engine reference just that one canonical, this is where you would put it in the right here in the canonical URL section for SEO.
Yeah, so and it could be like if you have multiple testimonials and you don't want to keep, getting people caught in those spider traps. Hey, we have 1 or 2 pages, we want to send them off to the main page. Or I've got a bunch of duplicate products with the same type of style, but there's different categories that you might be listed in. Because you might have a chair that's plastic, and it also might be an outdoor chair, right? It's 2 different categories, but that's how you're going to frame them up. And in this case here, that's what we're looking at in this table example here.
Yeah, so in this example here, the John Boos work table sale, and the canonical is the John Boos sale, you're telling the search engine to use this canonical tag of the John Boos sale instead of any other reference out there that might have this John Boos work table out there.
In the code, here's how it's going to kind of look like in your code. If you were to look at that, how that's going to show up there. And this is stuff that you may not have gotten into yet. It's very rare that people that don't have a lot of expertise get into the stuff like this. So it's good to have a little instruction or somebody helping you as you go to it, because you can really screw up your search engines and those search findings if those things are wrong and you set the parameters incorrectly.
There's more of what not to do on these than there is like what to do. So just be careful and work with your account manager for HawkSearch if you do have questions on the canonical tags.
Okay. All right, so another example here, in this case, just like a case example we were talking about earlier, if you didn't want to follow one versus the other, this would be what that would look like here, and you can see at the end where we've suggested that.
Yeah, and with the suggested facet depth, as Tim was talking about earlier, you really just want to stay within the 2 to 3 facets, because after you get 4, 5, 6, 7 layers deep, you have way too many URLs for the search engines to crawl. So just try to keep it within this 2 to 3 facet depth for each page.
Okay. And everybody understand that? Do we have any questions on that? Okay.
I have a helpful tip for folks who want to do keyword research. There's a free API integration. Click on Google.
Just get the microphone, yeah.
Thank
okay.
you, yeah.
We've got a free tip coming here.
Yeah,
Everybody want to hear
helpful
this?
tip
Yeah.
from Sam here. Thank you.
So a helpful tip if you're doing keyword research, there's a free API integration. It's a Chrome extension called Keywords Everywhere. If you don't have an AdWords account, download Keywords Everywhere as your Chrome extension, and it gives you, in your Google search, it'll show all of the search
So it's
volume
keywords everywhere.
and
Keywords everywhere,
CPCs.
nice.
Yeah,
That's a
Thank
Chrome
you.
extension, did you
Yeah.
say?
free Chrome extension.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
It's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of free tools that are out there. We're just showing some of them that are, obviously Google's very trusted. I mean, they have their own database. But there's other ways you can get
Yeah.
those. What's more about is being relevant, and what's popular out there.
I'm always up for a new tool, so I appreciate that. I'm going to go out there and use it. So thank you.
Okay, so some other advanced features to talk about. Popular searches that happen on the page. What happens on your site, and then how does that happen and transpire into what Google's doing? And if you're doing sale products or categories, custom pages, or even general content, these are all ways in how you can use the system and the tool to get better search out of it. And it doesn't have to be content, it doesn't have to be like a product. It can be just subject matter. It can have other, definitions to make that work for you. And I think there's some great examples of that if you're looking for it. But most of them are going to be in the product-based side. So first of all, when you're in the popular searches, the most important thing is to turn it on. Enable the popular searches. That's anybody use popular searches in the room? Okay, we've got one. Good. All right, so again, this is more advanced. If you haven't got there yet, that's fine. That's what this is about, is to talk about how these tools can be used in the future. And really what you're talking about here is it's triggered from on-site searches. So let's say we're just talking about Cubs jersey. Someone's looking for, what are people searching for on my site? And it could be anything on there, but you want to let Google know that, hey, these are searches that people find on my particular site, because Google wants to see a user experience. I'm looking for a keyword, I go to a website, did they go to the website and go through it and make a purchase? If that's what I'm looking for. If you do, that would be considered a good user experience. So they want to match those two things up. What's important here is that these are not automatically connected to Google. You kind of have to put those into the sitemap, and the purpose of this is to really put this in the sitemap. So if I'm just looking for, blue jerseys, images, blue jerseys, that's what they're going to come up, blue jerseys, blue Cubs jersey, any of the just common keywords that come up. Wrigleyville Sports, they're on the shop campaign here, so we know this is a Hawk search result here. But what we want to also see is, like, what's it coming up for as far as other searches? And maybe I just didn't put it in, I put in, that's your URL you're seeing, but maybe I put in Chris Bryant jersey. Maybe I'm putting more for that. I didn't put in blue, I put in just Chris Bryant jersey, but my pages aren't necessarily tagged for that. I didn't make a page for Chris Bryant, a page for, Rizzo, and a page for the catchers and the pitchers, and I got 60 pages now just for one team. That would be really kind of a bad experience. So what you do is you put it basically a popular tag to it, as you see here, and what we're doing is putting that on the sitemap and saying, hey, people are searching for Chris Bryant jerseys on our site, and we're going to tell Google on our sitemap that these are popular searches. So if someone wants to type in Google the Chris Bryant jersey, oh, well, here's a site that calls that popular, and they can index it that way. Now, if we didn't index it, they would just look for a blue jersey or Cubs jersey. You might not show up in those results. But we're trying to force that a little farther and saying, hey, we have good user experience on our site for the Chris Bryant jersey. Make sure that Google knows that's very relevant. And we've heard that term a lot, relevancy in the whole search. And this just ties those two things together. Was there anything else to add on that, Tom, that's important here?
That's a really great example. And actually, yeah, as opposed to just jerseys, this can be really for any product, and also content, as you were talking about earlier. We were saying, showing the Central Restaurant example. Who's here from Central Restaurant? Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Welcome.
so we were, showing some of those chairs earlier, so you can make them, popular, outdoor chairs, and use the same example here.
Especially for seasonal stuff. If you think of seasons when things are happening, that's when more popular searches may come up. So again, Google's always trying to be relevant with what's topical, what the keyword search is, and who the user is. And that's really the point of tying these things together. It could be, Rizzo too. It could be any of the players on here. You put them in. If they're popular searched and tagged that way, you would end up with the same thing without having to build a bunch of those pages out specifically.
Yep. Yeah, and then you have this example here of the search results for Chris Bryant jersey. What happens here with that popular tag is the Hawk search will then do a search for Chris Bryant jersey actually on the Wrigleyville Sports page, and that will show up in the index in Google. So what happens here is you're typing
Chris
in
Bryant products.
jersey. Yeah, exactly. This comes up with all the different Chris Bryant products, and the same thing you can do, Cree Bryant jersey, and it'll show up the same for Chris Bryant jerseys.
Or spell it with a C. Some people don't know the spelling right, so it changes all that for you and helps that along. That's really that purpose. Any questions on the popular search? Okay. All right, so just to kind of review, what we talked about, some of the main things you got to have, custom URLs. That's keyword rich, keyword friendly. Those keywords can be found in a number of ways. Make sure that you're looking after your website. Look at those first. Look at offsite things too that make a difference here. And your landing page structure. It has to have a good title tag, right? It shouldn't just say, your product in the state. It shouldn't just say your product and your brand name, because if someone puts in your brand name, they're going to find you anyway. So you're kind of wasting that real estate up there. Make sure you're using those tools properly. And if you need help, work with a partner like American Eagle here. They can help you with those SEO optimizations and really kind of dial that in for you and fix your title tags. Give it back to you, and you guys can update them on your website. And that's important for the structure, because it's going to look at that. And then we know H1s, right? That's a header tag. How many times do we see sites that don't have H1s in them, and they wonder why they don't get ranked? It's because you're missing some of those basic guideposts for Google. Yeah, too many times. And canonical tags is important when you want to get into the advanced areas. You want to really start taking it up a notch and advancing your search. That's where you're going to go in here. And then sitemaps, ever so important, that you've got to control the sitemaps and understand how they work. Shareya's made some great points on how you can use multiple sitemaps. So if that's confusing to you, by all means, contact one of us, and your account manager will help you get in touch with the right people. But these are some of the basics that we talk about. You can certainly get into much more advanced things than this. We can take it up higher, but start with the foundational stuff first, right? Build here and then go from that.
Yeah.
And then 301 redirects. Don't build your pages and then forget about that, because sometimes people move on so fast. We see it all the time. Marketers just start making things happen, and then the tech people have 200-300 pages of nothing out there. Those show errors, essentially. So we don't want to, reduce your domain authority.
Check your Google Search Console for all the 404 errors, and then use the 301 redirects, and then the more advanced technique of the canonicals, if and when you want to, and know how to.
Yeah, so there's your basics right there. And then I think we all know this, we've heard it before, duplicate content's a no-no. So if you have like those products with the duplicate descriptions, right, that's a great way to say, hey, don't follow all these duplicate description pages, point me to the main category page, and I'll let the user navigate from there. Because if you have all these pages out there with duplicate content and you avoid that, essentially Google's going to crawl your pages and they're going to say you have 5,000 duplicate content issues. And they're going to compare it to your competitor who did that, and they're going to have maybe 100. So it's a score, and that's what they're going to do, is they're going to weight you out there. So it's important that you're understanding how these factors come into play. And if you need help with redirecting and moving some of that, that's very understandable. Be careful how you do it. And don't take content from somebody else. If you see a competitor site or you're maybe a reseller of manufactured products and they give you those descriptions, if you copy them on your website and 10 other people have them on theirs, that's really not helping you. So you've kind of got to look at that strategy and understand what you want to do about it. Do we want to write our own descriptions? Do we want to, redirect everything to somewhere else? There's a couple solutions there. And it's all individual, so it's not going to be the same for everybody. Okay? So make sure you don't duplicate content or take it from somewhere else and put it on your site, because it will end up causing you a penalty. That's all we had for today. Is there any questions that anybody wanted to cover that we wanted to go back on? And if there's anything that comes up after our discussion, again, by all means, follow your contact manager or account manager, and we'll contact you appropriately.
Yes.
Questions?
In the back.
Let's start over here, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Right here.
I have a question on landing pages. So we use an SEO system called BrightEdge,
Mhm.
where we go through and pick the keywords, and then we set these preferred landing pages. They've really been pushing us to create more what they call PP pages that are specific. So within like ranges, it's someone searching Garland range, we create a PP page that's just Garland ranges instead of using a listing map. But I feel like what you were saying about creating all of these different pages, like the Chris Bryan jersey example.
Okay.
Is that not best practice? Is that not what we
So I'm sorry, just to clarify, is the PP, is that like a PPC?
landing page.
Just a landing, okay. So, and that's just for paid search then, the PPC? For SEO, okay, gotcha. So essentially, the BrightEdge company is advising you to create custom URLs, which you're already doing, right, for these top search terms?
to land the customer on like exactly what they want.
Oh,
So
okay.
instead of landing them just on ranges, land them on like a Garland, which is what they're searching for.
Yeah, in that case, then there can be a very specific dedicated custom URL for the further ranges. But then, to take it one step further, you can use the -- popular and make that ranges a popular term, and that can be the more advanced way to do those ranges. And that actually takes the data from Hawk Search as opposed to Google or Bing or Yahoo.
And they don't view those landing pages as because they were the same. There was some confusion on our end as well of them thinking that we would view them as a search result landing on a search result. Is that not the case?
Yeah, Shreyas, you want to take that one?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. They will still treat it. It really depends on how the URL is structured for that page. So you can do a /popular /something. It still does. It's behind the scenes. It's a search results page, but because the URL is designed in a way where it's more custom to Google, it still is a custom results page with that particular term. So it really depends on that URL strategy that you have.
In the back.
So kind of, I guess, along the, so Google wouldn't see that if there was a, I guess with the Chris Bryan example, if there was a popular page and there was also a landing page, would it consider that duplicate content?
In some cases, it could consider it as duplicate content, depending on what you exactly have on the page. So if it's the same exact products, same exact order of products, and the meta description of none of that changes, then yes, it is duplicate content. Then in that case, you're better off canonicalizing one of the pages to go to the other, just so you're not indexing both versions of the page.
That's where that canonical tag comes into play, and then you got to decide which one you want to do. You want to do the popular one, or you want to do the landing page, and it's just more of a personal choice at that side. And I would look more at the metrics to see where more searches are coming and take it from there. Was there a question you had up there?
Well, I was just wondering if maybe adding all these long tail keywords could potentially devalue your main category, and you kind of just answered that.
They can. On certain pages, long tail is not going to hurt, but when you have multiple products, that can become a problem. and it's really for management too. So it's good to keep them shorter length, and keep them common keywords. Long tail is great for those precise searches, but with tools like Hawk Search, you can get away without doing that and trimming those down some. Was there other questions? I think we're coming to about the end of this session.
Great.
Okay. Thanks for staying awake after lunch. Boy, that was nice of you. And appreciate you guys coming in today. And thank you for being a customer. That's real important to us. And if there's anything we can help you with, there's plenty of resources around. By all means, find someone, and they'll take care of you. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thanks.